Imagine being on a plane destined for a vacation or a visit with family, but instead landing in an unknown country with no connection with the outside world. Rumors start to spread about helicopters crashing into buildings or the start of World War III, yet you are stuck on the same plane for over 24 hours without a phone to call home. When you finally disembark, you and 6,600 other foreigners get sent to various towns across Newfoundland. Throughout the fear and the unknown, you live an unforgettable experience.
The idea for the musical Come From Away came from the Toronto lawyer and theater producer Michael Rubinoff, who introduced the idea to Irene Sankoff and David Hine, a married couple from Regina and North York. With a grant from the Canadian Council, Irene and David went to Newfoundland on the 10th anniversary of the events of September 11th and interviewed countless people who lived through 9/11/2001 in Gander. The Plain people from all over the world came back to Gander to remember the events that happened throughout that week. David Hine explained, "I always say we want to tell all 16,000 stories, but it's a 100-minute musical." They based all of their characters on one or a few real people and told their stories. Ultimately, their goal was to show human kindness and selflessness during times of adversity. They suggest that it is more of a 9/12 musical as it explains the events after the crash. This musical became a worldwide phenomenon, making it only the 5th Canadian production to make it to New York City Broadway. It goes on to winning numerous awards, such as for Olivier Awards and a Tony for Best Direction of a Musical, won by Christopher Ashley, the musical's main director.
This great musical represents a story about resilience, compassion, and unification that defies negative Canadian stereotypes. Come From Away tells a tale of 12 remarkable individuals in a touching and powerful 100-minute musical. After the September 11th tragedies, all planes were forced to land at the closest airport on their route. 38 planes with almost 7,000 people aboard landed in Gander, Newfoundland. The Broadway musical Come From Away tells a story of real-life people, both passengers and locals, who work together throughout acts of kindness and selflessness in this unreal time. From Beverly Bass, the first female pilot of American Airlines, to Diane and Nick, two strangers who found love during these intense moments, and Claude Elliott, the mayor of Gander at the time, this musical takes a deep dive into their lives and connections in the days following the incident. With some passengers stuck on their planes for 28 hours, frantic and oblivious to what was happening and where they were, the small town of Gander, Newfoundland, population 10,000 people, worked together around the clock to welcome all of these come-from-aways. From feeding them and entertaining them, to laughing in bars and forming lifelong bonds, this musical embodies true Canadian culture and kindness.
Firstly, this musical endeavors to defy Canadian stereotypes by striving for factualness. The producers conducted thousands of interviews in order for the musical to resemble the actual events. They noted down what the people experienced, how they were feeling, how this event changed them, all in order for this musical to be as authentic as possible. The producers had the original cast meet up with the people they were portraying in order to be able to tell their story.
By immersing themselves in Canadian events, the cast members as well as the production crew avoided stereotypes and developed a historically accurate moment for Canada. With the proper research, the typical perception of a Canadian is altered by personal experiences. Feeling the pressure to do the event justice, stereotypes were avoided and this unifying story shined bright. When observing all of the characters, it is clear that they are neither generic or similar and steer clear from the stereotypical lumberjack or hockey player. They were all different and complex, having their own identity going further than just the typical Canadian. From Oz Fudge, the deputy chief who kind-heartedly helped organize the refugees, to Beulah, head of the Gander Legion, who stayed with a mother who was waiting for news from her firefighter son living in New York City, all their stories were unique and resilient. By including a very diverse cast, the characters could not fit under the same umbrella, proving that they are all different from one another. It is known that Canadians are stereotypically seen as polite and overly apologetic. However, this musical emphasizes how Canadian culture is hospitable, kind, and welcoming to everyone. The compassion of the locals resonates throughout the story.
For example, in Song 7, as the foreigners were all scared and confused, the locals helped them speak the same language.
Now, obviously, I can't read it, but their Bible, it'll have the same number system ours does. So, I ask to see it. And I'm searching for something here. And then, in Philippians 4:6, I give them their Bible, and I'm pointing, saying, look, Philippians 4:6, be anxious for nothing. Be anxious for nothing. And that's how we started speaking the same language.
Song 13, the Newfoundlanders waited by the phone with the come-from-aways, comforting them.
Everyone's going out tonight? You go on without me, Beulah. I need to wait by the phone. I'll wait with you.
Then, in Song 14, they all danced around, drinking beer and having a good time, all of the Newfoundlanders trying to raise everyone's morale. At the same time, they screech in all of the foreigners in order to make them honorary Newfoundlanders. This musical proves that Canadians say more than the polite sorry and join everyone together in order to have a good time without having anyone feeling left out.
Of course, there were some moments which seemed stereotypically Canadian, such as wearing plaid in order to blend in with the locals, or
that there in the middle of the road?
Yeah.
That's the moose.
However, they were placed more as passing comments, almost as an inside joke or comedy relief for an emotional and intense subject.
Finally, this musical proves that Canada has both a beautiful countryside, but is also developed and has more than little towns in the middle of nowhere.
You've all seen the airport. Used to be the biggest airport in North America. Planes used to stop here to gas up from everywhere.
Oh, Frank Sinatra, Albert Einstein.
Muhammad Ali, the Queen. This is where the Beatles first set foot in North America.
Canada is always stereotypically praised for its beautiful scenery and living in the countryside and on farms. However, even small towns like Gander prove to be modern and relevant.
By steering clear from living in igloos and living off of maple syrup and poutine, this musical never falls into the trap of negative Canadian stereotypes and showcases Canada authentically. Just as Winston Churchill said, there are no limits to the majestic future which lies before the mighty expanse of Canada with its virile, aspiring, cultured, and generous-hearted people.
The ones who have come from away, we say, welcome to the